Now we observe Han, who departed from his previous school and transferred to a different educational institution within the same city. There, he aggressively defeated all the fighters and compelled them to become part of his gang. In this manner, Han intends to establish dominance over their school as well. He declares that he will exceed his father, who is the head of the YB gang. Conversely, the study group's exchange meeting does not proceed smoothly whatsoever, and Ji-won ends up in a heated argument with the girl. Subsequently, they discover that the members of this study group are experiencing bullying. A boy gestures towards the adjacent school, indicating that their fifth member is being forcefully assaulted by some boys because they previously purchased items using his card, but now his mother has deactivated the card. The boy earnestly begs the bullies to release him, but they respond, "Inform your mother to have the card reactivated." At that moment, a boy notices someone present. He informs the members of the study group, including Ji-woo and others, that they are unable to report these bullies because the previous time a boy attempted to do so, they assaulted his father, who remains in a coma. They mention that this educational institution is named Manika School, and they are uncertain as to why it was constructed directly in front of their school. Upon hearing this, Junun and Ji-woo are taken aback. Meanwhile, Ga-min makes his entrance into the school. He had entered a school that seemed to be run by thugs. He observed the condition of the school, which was rather poor, and there was bloodstains on the stairs. Two boys then approached him and attacked him. However, he had already comprehended what was transpiring there. He began fighting them off quite fiercely. A little while later, when one of the boys went outside to check, everyone was lying around and he also got beaten up by him. He returned the glasses to the student from the other school. From then on, everyone on the call informed him that he had arrived at the wrong school. He was intended to arrive at Manil High School. During this conversation, the most formidable fighter from that educational institution makes his entrance. They overhear the noises of the villager and his combat over the call and assume that unfortunate boy is finished. Meanwhile, the villager starts to develop a dislike for that boy and soon defeats him. Afterward, he rescues the boy and escorts him to Manilahi, where they commence their activities and gain substantial knowledge from the other study group. Prior to departing, the same girl expresses her apologies to Ji-woo for her previous rude remarks. Subsequently, that very same boy pulls the villager aside and expresses his gratitude for rescuing him from the thugs, along with offering an apology. He recalls that during their childhood, he had once declined to include the villager in his study group. The villager also recollects that this is indeed the same boy. The boy proceeds to lavishly praise the villager. Following this, they make their way back. Ultimately, they acquire their own distinct room, which was previously cluttered with dust and grime. However, the villager, together with everyone else, diligently cleans it up. They start improving the room to a better state than before. Miss Lee sees their work and leaves with a happy smile. She goes to a teacher and asks for support so that a committee meeting can be convened on Han. She says that she can change this school. The teacher refuses to support Miss Lee and says that this task could be very risky and questions whether she is capable of doing it. To determine this, he says he will first test her. Meanwhile, everyone else has cleaned the entire room, but then a boy comes in. This boy starts mocking their study group. The rural student becomes very angry. He was about to hit him, but Sehi stops him. He halts him and states that if you tangle with him, you'll have to confront the vice principal. This is because this boy ranks first in academics throughout our entire 10th grade, and his name is Hwang Min. He also belittles them and asks, "Why do you have so much leisure time, poor guy, that you're engaging in this nonsense with them? Shouldn't you have been working to earn money, right?" And he doesn't respond to him. Even then, Miss Lee arrives at the scene. Upon seeing her, Hwang Min departs. Then the villager remarks, "Hey Se-hyun, tell me how much time is left in the term. This time, I'll surpass him in grades." Everyone looks at the rural student upon hearing this. Then Miss Lee informs everyone of their positions in the entire 10th grade based on their grades, where Chun is ahead of Ji-woo, and the rural student was in 219th place out of 220 students, while Se-hyun was in second place. Ji-woo, Jun, and Won are surprised to see this. After that, Miss Lee says that there are still 20 days left for the midterms, and if you do as I say, your grades can improve. Everyone agrees, and while leaving school, Jun mentions that he overheard Miss Lee and the teacher talking, and the teacher said that if our grade position improves, only then will they help Miss Lee in catching Han. Hearing this, everyone is surprised because now, according to this, everyone must enhance their rank and Se-hyun absolutely has to achieve the first position. At that moment, they receive a notification. Se-hyun mentions he has some tasks to attend to and departs. He was scheduled to work as a laborer at a construction site today, but due to his tardiness, his supervisor reprimands him and instructs him not to return. Then a flashback is depicted. Se-hyun had always excelled academically since his early years. One day, when he scores perfect marks, So he joyfully returns home to display it, but his mother and father are in the midst of an argument, and witnessing this makes him feel quite sad. Since his early years, he had been bullied by a boy named Hwang Min for this very reason. As he is about to leave, Won approaches him. She says, "I'm heading in this direction as well." They begin walking together. She expresses, "You assisted me that day and rescued me, thank you for that. And you also accompanied me to the police station. If you hadn't been there, I wouldn't have been able to manage anything on my own." He says that I didn't do anything. The real work was done by the villager, who saved them by beating up the goons, and he didn't save the other study group boy in the village either. He's like some kind of superhero. Man says that you are quite good too. Don't underestimate yourself. Remember, you were the one who threw that computer in front of the discipline committee member. You are strong too, and this makes them a little happy. Just then, Hwang Min and the bully gang girls notice them. Hwang Min starts bothering them again. When Vaughn says something, that girl hits Vaughn too, and seeing this makes him angry. He fights back, but in the end, he gets beaten up. At that moment, the villager arrives. He swiftly takes down Hwang Min with a single punch, and when the girls attempt to record a video, he skillfully kicks their phones into the air, prompting everyone to scatter. However, Se-hyun is not pleased with the villager's interference and begins to walk away. The villager remarks, "We defeated them, be happy." But Se-hyun replies, "It wasn't us, it was you who defeated them." He departs, feeling disheartened, and upon reaching home, he is reprimanded because he didn't go to work today. They mention, "If you choose not to work, how do you plan to repay the substantial debt that your mother left upon us?" Se-hyun responds, "I have not refused to work. I am completely prepared to work, and I will repay the debt that is not mine. However, remember, before my mother became my mother, she was your wife." Se-hyun, now feeling quite angry, exits the house, and just then, the villager arrives. He suggests, "Come with me to my residence," but Se-hyun declines. "We are companions, and companions can assist each other," he expresses. He responds, "Indeed, companions assist each other, but in this situation, it's solely you assisting me, and I'm incapable of contributing anything." He departs from that place. The villager receives notifications from his mother as he violated his curfew once more today. He begins his journey home in a different taxi, yet he doesn't feel well at all. He could comprehend how he must be feeling because experiencing defeat everywhere feels dreadful. He had already sensed it. He observes that today as well, he will not be able to arrive home punctually. In the meantime, he notices that Hwang Min is searching for him everywhere. He begins to conceal himself from him, but ultimately, Hwang Min appears directly in front of him. Hwang Min initiates an attack on him, but this time he does not become frightened. At that moment, he receives a phone call and he answers it, glancing around in astonishment. I launch an attack on him as well, but he successfully defends himself and continues to evade us persistently. He accomplishes it as well. Subsequently, it becomes apparent that the villager had been observing him from a rooftop, providing guidance on combat techniques, which aids him in facing Hwang Min. However, his battery eventually depletes, causing him to waver once more. The authorities hasten to rescue him, yet he does not express any appreciation. He swiftly returns to the battle and manages to knock Hwang Min out by striking him on the head. The villager also sees this and feels happy by coincidence, knowing that he can protect himself alone. On the opposite side, we observe Hamhan and Havan. Havan had recently attacked an individual with his firearm and he truly relished the experience. Meanwhile, Ga-min Afsahe escorts them to his residence. Ga-min's mother was seated outside, anticipating his arrival. She remarks, "You are late once more today, and you failed to answer your phone." Ga-min attempts to provide an explanation, but she interjects, "Prepare yourself for a school transfer tomorrow." Ga-min grows concerned and responds to her that, "They will not genuinely transfer your educational institution. They are merely upset." However, Kam-in insists that she was earnest. Whenever she has instructed me to do something, she has consistently made her decision in this manner. At that moment, his mother arrives, carrying some documents with her. She instructs Grammy to select another institution from these options and they will visit the school the following day to complete the transfer process. Later that evening, he mentions that Miss Lee was once his private instructor. Grammy remarks that now none of this holds any significance anymore, just then. And he inquires, "If your mother is not concerned about your subpar academic performance and you don't have to be anxious about financial matters, why are you striving so diligently to achieve excellent grades?" Ga-min remains silent. In reality, Ga-min's father was an exceptionally accomplished individual, and due to this, everyone began exerting pressure on Ga-min from a young age, expecting that he would eventually become as successful as his father. However, Ga-min was completely lacking in academic performance, and as a result, individuals ceased to have any expectations from him. Go-man expresses that it feels truly disheartening when no one anticipates anything from you, and it was the same situation with him. He remarks, "Indeed, I can comprehend." The following day, Go-man's mother arrives at Yusung High School. She had come to the realization that Go-man was merely squandering his time there. That's why she starts arranging for his transfer to a school in Seoul. Sehan and everyone else try to stop her so that Ms. Lee can come and talk to them, and everyone is saying something to stop her. Just then, as she is about to leave, Won says, "I am going to become the mother of the government's child." Hearing this, Ga-min tells his mom, "Let's go, mom." Even as she begins to depart, Miss Lee arrives there in a taxi. Then all these individuals commence pursuing her in an automobile. I was driving rather swiftly, but a boy halts his motorcycle in front of them, compelling them to stop in the middle of the road. Then numerous other boys emerged there. Among them was the top fighter from the 11th grade. He had arrived with the intention of seeking retribution, but Ji-bu and Arjun collectively engaged these individuals and began overpowering them. Following this, Ji-bu declares that he will manage all of them by himself. He instructs everyone else to pursue them. Subsequently, Ms. Lee accelerates the vehicle once more and they commence chasing after Ga-eun. At this juncture, Arjun was prepared to confront the top-ranked fighter of the 11th grade. He had been defeated numerous times before, but after encountering Ga-eun, he commenced training with him each morning, and Ga-eun also imparted a unique technique to him. He learned Dragon Kick. Jin goes to perform a Dragon Kick on that boy, but he hasn't mastered the technique yet. Meanwhile, all of them reach the village boy's mother. She tells them, "Mom, I'm not pregnant, that was a lie." They refuse to transfer Ga-min. Ga-min's mother is quite surprised to see that these kids have come all the way to the village for this. After this, Miss Lee also arrives there. The village boy's mother recognizes Miss Lee, and then Miss Lee starts talking to Ga-min's mom. Miss Lee tells her that she is from the government's homeroom, and she declines to have the government transfer executed by the government mom and states, "Recall, once you mentioned that we should consistently stand against injustice." In fact, her mom expressed this sentiment at the memorial service of the same teacher, and Miss Lee was deeply troubled by her teacher's passing because she was killed. At this point, the villager's mom advises Miss Lee to perpetually combat injustice. Miss Lee also informs them about the study group and mentions that the villager and his companions have collaboratively established it. Recollections return of the time when nobody would welcome Ga-min into their study group, which used to make his mother rather sorrowful. However, Miss Lee mentions that today, Ga-min has established his own study group and he has supportive friends as well. Everything was progressing smoothly here, but then some boys show up. In fact, Miss Lee had dispatched some documents to the vice principal, requesting an evaluation from the education department to halt bullying within the school. Nonetheless, these documents also reached Han. To address every single issue, these boys, accompanied by Hwan, were sent here after being provoked. Miss Lee suggests they postpone their actions because something rather significant is happening right now. Nevertheless, they ignore her and begin their assault on Miss Lee. The villager readies himself to protect Miss Lee, but before he can intervene, someone kicks that boy into the air, and it turns out to be the villager's mother who did it, as she was not just an ordinary woman. She led the group. Following this, the villager's mother advises, "Children, refrain from informing your parents about what is about to transpire here, as I dislike it when parents engage in conflicts among themselves." Subsequently, the villager's mother and Ji-bu commence their assault on these individuals. Gavin informs his mother regarding the creatures, who were exceptionally skilled fighters. He also mentions Sehan and Vaughn, who were attempting to contact the police. At this point, Miss Lee promptly reaches out to the detectives, and at that very moment, Hwan discharges a shot aimed at Miss Lee. However, his aim wavers, yet he directs the firearm once more. The villager's mother hastens to rescue Miss Lee, and Ga-min maneuvers the weapon, which results in the glass shattering. The villager's mother successfully saves Miss Lee, but the descending glass strikes Ga-min's mother, causing her significant injury. Witnessing this, the villager becomes profoundly distressed. The very next day, the villager wakes up in the morning and heads straight to school. Today, Ga-min was extremely angry. He was about to go directly to the roof to attack Han. However, Han's 3 bodyguard students catch him. Han approaches Ga-min and says, "It seems you're quite angry about your mother being hospitalized." Just then, an announcement is made by the vice principal, asking all the students to gather in the gym room. Han instructs his trio of bodyguard students to assault him so severely that he lands in the hospital alongside his mother. Subsequently, Han departs. At this point, a boy named Kim-sun, recognized as the most formidable among them, suggests they refrain from attacking him collectively as he would be too feeble. Then, 2 individuals begin to depart, but Kim-sun interjects. "Hold on, gather around. I'm in a rush at the moment. Then it is revealed that after his mother was admitted to the hospital the previous day, Park notified the authorities that Han might not have dispatched those boys. Consequently, the villager now seeks to exact revenge on Han. Here, the villager begins to engage in combat with these three. They were highly proficient in teamwork and they severely beat the villager. Then the villager recalls the training imparted by his master and rises again. This time, he was in complete fighting mode and commences defeating them single-handedly. Utilizing advanced techniques, he successfully defeats them and begins to depart. Then, that boy Kim-sun exclaims, "Halt! The battle isn't concluded yet," and he dashes towards the villager. The villager also leaps forward and delivers a dragon kick to Kim-sun, which knocks Kim-sun out instantly. Following this, the villager promptly starts making his way to the gym room. Along the path, he encounters a study group poster on which someone had inscribed, "If you wish to ruin your life, join the study group." The villager ponders whether his companions are enduring hardships due to him and if his mother's health condition is his responsibility. He contemplates that perhaps the concept of the study group wasn't beneficial. Nevertheless, he asserts that pursuing education in this world cannot be incorrect. Subsequently, he exits the gymnasium where Mishli is addressing all the children. He notices Wo-hang and, in a fit of anger, strikes him. Following this, a flashback from an earlier moment is depicted where the vice principal had intentionally assembled all the students in that location. He informs everyone, "Our educational institution is rather excellent and we do not cultivate anyone here to become a gangster. Nevertheless, one of our educators has submitted a petition for an inspection with the education department and due to this, our school might face closure. Isn't that correct?" All the students comprehend that it wasn't Miss Lee who submitted the petition. Following this, the vice principal summons Miss Lee to the stage. The motion picture narrates to all the students that we are all aware. Our educational institution is far from ordinary, and even though I enrolled in this school not long ago, I have been familiar with this school for quite some time due to my instructor, Miss Ji-eun Hwa. In reality, Miss Ji-eun was the very same educator who once taught at this school and was endeavoring to transform it. Miss Lee respected her a lot, but then one day someone murdered her, and Miss Jong-hwa was also Park's mother. Park and everyone else were very shocked to learn this. Miss Lee says that no matter who I have to fight, I will change this school by following in my teacher's footsteps. The vice principal immediately snatches the mic from her, and just then, a villager comes and punches Han. Han responds by kicking him, and a fight was about to start between them, but it doesn't happen. After some time, everyone at the school starts talking about how the villager is quite skilled, wondering how he managed to punch Han. Kim-sun's friends start questioning him, asking how he can focus on studying now. Now he will terminate us from our employment, and then how will we generate income? Kim-sun remains indifferent, which causes one of his friends to depart in frustration. Meanwhile, I was contemplating that Mishli is a disciple of that elderly teacher Jung-hwa, which is the reason she desires to transform the school. However, Han devises a new strategy. He contacts someone and instructs them to select Kim for that position, and on the other side, we observe Kim watching them. He became a bodyguard only because he wanted to earn money for his sick grandpa. Otherwise, he was interested in studying, not fighting. Here, he meets a villager, talks to him, and Kim-sun apologizes to Ga-min for fighting. The government asks why he listens to Tum-han. "I saw that day you had index cards for studying. You like to study, don't you?" Kim-sun says that even if that's true, what will change now? "I need to earn money. If I stay close to Han in this city, I can join the famous YB gang and get involved with YB construction." Just then, one of his friends calls him. He is quite anxious and scared. He says, "Go hide somewhere. The trainers are coming." Just then, two men from the YB gang arrive here. They request Kim-sun to accompany them. The government official states, "I will accompany you as well," but Kim-sun sensed impending danger, so he refrains from taking the villager along and proceeds with them. The government official finds this rather peculiar. Those same individuals inform Kim-sun that he has numerous tasks to complete today. Meanwhile, the villager observes that Kim-sun inadvertently left his phone behind, and his grandpa was attempting to reach him. The villager subsequently visits Kim-sun's grandpa. Despite his advanced age and being on his deathbed, his grandpa was still diligently studying. It was widely believed that the instant an individual ceases to learn, they begin to die. The villager assists them, and as he departs, Kim-sun's grandfather from the village remarks, "If you encounter Kim-sun, convey to him how enjoyable studying can be. I believe you are capable of doing that." The villager proceeds to his mother and reflects on this. Then, the following morning, everyone discovers from the news that a man was tragically murdered the previous night, and a suspect was captured on CCTV footage. They observe that the suspect bears a striking resemblance to Kim-sun. Just then, the same detective arrives here with a fish. He asks the villager if they met Kim-sun last night and to tell him what happened at that time. The villager then tells him everything, that he was talking about studies, and then two men from the YB gang came and took Kim-sun away. The villager asked the detective if Kim-sun really didn't commit the murder. The detective says that at the moment he is the prime suspect. This makes the villager quite upset, and he starts to think deeply. He also questions whether Kim-sun could really do something like that. After this, all of them conduct their own research and find out that since Ji-eun joined the school last year, the nature of crimes in their town has significantly changed. Instead of adult crimes, the number of crimes committed by school students has increased considerably. It is evident that the YB gang is strategically framing high school students for their criminal activities, as these minors cannot be subjected to lengthy sentences. They believe that by employing this tactic, the YB gang subsequently recruits these high school students into their gang and YB construction. However, Ji points out that although this explanation seems plausible, it does not definitively prove that Kim-sun is innocent of the murder. They feel disheartened due to the lack of concrete evidence. Subsequently, a night scene unfolds, depicting Kim-sun's friend sprinting towards the village. He comes asking for help. The academy of the same gang was chasing him. The villager knocks him out with a single punch. Then he reveals that he saw a member of the YB gang commit the murder. He was cleaning the blood off the knife. In fact, whenever a big shot from the YB gang commits a murder, they frame high school students who are already associated with the gang so that the real murderer can avoid a long sentence. This is exactly what's happening with Kim-sun now. He tells his friends all this and says that he saw it in his eyes. Kim-sun wanted to study. Now they decide to find the same knife to save Kim-sun. After this, Ga-min, Jun, and Ji-bu get ready to enter the building wearing the YB gang's uniform. They got these uniforms from the same boys they had previously taught a lesson by defeating them. On Pasi Hill, Sehon and Vaughn were also sitting, fully prepared to keep an eye on the building and its surroundings with their drone. After this, the three of them enter the building. They use the same names as those whose uniforms they are wearing. In this way, they manage to get inside, but upon arriving, they see that all the backup fighters of the YB gang are gathered there. Perhaps there is going to be a meeting. Anyway, the three proceed to execute their plan. They begin ascending the building. Kim-sun was also seated on one side there. Subsequently, Sehyeon and I deploy a drone to survey the building and they observe Han on one of the floors emerging from there. They notify everyone else about this and the trio notices that indeed he is approaching their direction. They all crouch down, but then someone hears a sound. He instructs the others to head downstairs and proceeds upward to investigate himself. Ji contemplates how reckless he is, heading upstairs. We're down here, but then she realizes that Gavin is absent. Gavin had ventured upstairs. To evade that individual, he conceals himself there, and once the man departs, Gavin descends. However, he now observes that the man has secured the door. Kim-sun was seated there, appearing despondent. At this moment, Han also joins the meeting. He informs everyone that Kim-sun has now become a part of our YB family. Han gives him a lot of money and says that this will help cure your ailment. However, it was clear from Kim-sun's face that he did not want to go to jail for a crime he did not commit. Meanwhile, on the other side, the villager was stuck on the roof, and right there, a boy whom Jun and Ji-bu had previously beaten up appeared in front of them. Chun gets ready to fight, and Ji-bu runs upstairs to find a knife. Meanwhile, Sehyeon and Won see that detectives have also come here to find Kim-sun. Knowing this, the villagers start trying to open the door. There, the boy whom they were beating very badly is on one side, and on the other side, in the room, Ji-wook finds the knife she was looking for. Ji-bu keeps it with her, but then a man comes in. Ji-woo hides, but later the man sees Ji-woo, and the detective comes inside along with Kim-sun. He acknowledges that he did not commit the murder of that man. Meanwhile, at the medical facility, Kim's two companions were attending to his grandfather. They had not informed the grandfather about the situation yet, but now both of them are becoming increasingly upset and resolved to go to the same location to rescue Kim-sun. Meanwhile, the boy who was engaged in the fight is now gaining the upper hand over Jun due to the knife. Ji-wook attempts to make her escape but comes across another man whom she manages to throw to the ground. Nevertheless, another individual apprehends her, and despite her efforts to resist, he renders her unconscious. Meanwhile, a phone call is received by the villager from Miss Lee. She inquires about the progress of his exam preparation. She mentions that when she provided the practice sheet, there might have been a mistake in it, so she requests if he could verify it and inform her. The villager refrains from informing them that he is currently outside, and as he begins to depart hastily, his notebook accidentally falls from the building onto the individual who perpetrated the murder. The man notices the notebook and proceeds to take it away. Meanwhile, the villager observes two men escorting Ji-won to an undisclosed location. The government promptly initiates efforts to forcibly break down the door. At this juncture, Sahibun and Vaughn's contractual agreement with everyone else is severed, and their drone is also intercepted and damaged by Havan. They both come to the realization that everyone's lives are now in imminent danger. Both of them also begin to proceed in order to rescue them. Meanwhile, the man places the creatures into the vehicle and instructs his associate to dispatch all the backup fighters to their respective homes. He is on the verge of departing when Kim-sun arrives. Indeed, when the detective had apprehended him, there was a brief interrogation. The detective was aware that Kim-sun was not the perpetrator of the murder, and subsequently, Kim-sun also acknowledges that he did not commit the murder. After this, Kim-sun starts fighting with the man to save the creatures. However, the man was quite powerful on his own. But now Kim-sun's two friends also arrive there. The three of them together start fighting the man, and during this time, the creatures regain consciousness. The creatures pick up a knife again and start to leave from there. At that moment, she sees that even together, the three of them are unable to defeat the man. The man tells Kim-sun that it would have been better for him if he had taken the blame for the murder. Hearing this, the creatures become very angry and they also join the fight. Lee-jun now stops the boy's knife with his hand and breaks it, throwing it away. After that, he hits him one by one, causing him to fall far away, ending his game right there. Meanwhile, on the other side, even the four of them together are unable to defeat the man. But just then, the villager arrives. He arrives at this location wielding a knife. He had forcefully broken the roof door with just a single kick. Ji informs the government authorities that he possesses the knife along with the evidence. Ga-min delivers a punch to one of his henchmen and pushes him away, then retrieves the knife. However, he then gets kicked and a fight ensues between the two of them. That man was challenging the government, and he forcefully knocks him down. He believed he was exceptionally powerful, but Ga-min reveals that he was merely playing around until now. He then becomes serious and employs a unique technique imparted by his master, the 0-inch punch, to propel the man into a vehicle, concluding his game right there. Subsequently, the villager approaches Kim-sun and proposes that they study together, to which Kim-sun agrees. At that precise moment, the man rises once more and begins moving towards the knife. Ji quickly votes and hits him one by one and also picks up the knife. Then, Sayan and Won come in, shouting. They had come to save them, and everyone starts laughing when they see them. Suddenly, Ga-min remembers that the man who committed the murder had left with his notebook. Meanwhile, on the other side, the detective intercepts the man on the way because Kim-sun had informed the detective about everything. The man then attempts to attack the detective. Just then, Ga-min arrives and knocks him unconscious, telling the detective that he came here just to retrieve his notebook. Subsequently, everything gradually returns to its usual state. Everyone diligently resumes their studies and takes their midterm examinations. However, once the exams conclude, Ga-min's demeanor shifts. Meanwhile, the circumstances at the police station also begin to improve, and Kim-sun undergoes a transformation as well. Ga-min's mother is released from the hospital. She contacts Ms. Lee to inquire if the exams concluded today because he is not responding to his phone calls and has not returned home yet. He might have ventured out with his companions. Upon hearing this, the rural campaign proposes that it would be preferable if he refrains from going anywhere today. Conversely, we observe the rural fellow who was with his friends, yet today he appeared noticeably different. Meanwhile, his mother informs Ms. Lee that annually, a few days following the exams, the government's disposition becomes quite unfavorable and he struggles to manage his temper. Here, the friends of Ga-min also notice that he has been behaving strangely for quite some time. He seems quite worried, and seeing this, everyone starts to reassure him. Sehan also explains to him that he has worked hard and this time there will definitely be a change in his results. Ga-min now becomes happy. Just then, the villager receives a call. It was from the coal hospital because Kim-sun's grandpa's condition was quite critical and Kim-sun had not reached there yet. When Kim-sun hears this news, he starts running towards the hospital, but then the backup fighters of the VB gang appear in front of him. Kim-sun tells them, "Everyone come together, I am in a hurry too." Meanwhile, on the other side, the villager reaches the hospital. Actually, Kim-sun's grandpa wanted to take an exam before passing away, and the villager helps him with it. After a while, the farmer arrives here, running. He was extremely exhausted and injured from battling so many individuals alone. His friend informs him that Grandpa is presently taking his examination. Kim-sun observes his grandfather from outside. Shortly thereafter, Grandpa passes away. Kim-sun is profoundly saddened by his passing, and everyone, including Kim-sun, is weeping. Sometime later, the midterm examination results are released and everyone's ranks have improved, including the farmer's rank, which has increased from 219 to... The rank advanced to 209. Sahi-on also ascended from second position to match that boy, attaining first place, and Miss Lee presents this to the same instructor and states that she has now successfully passed her examination. Consequently, a disciplinary committee meeting must be convened regarding Hwan, and the teacher has no alternative. The head of the education department is also required to endorse the convening of a disciplinary committee meeting concerning Han. Following this, the notice is posted on the board, and Han is now instructed to exit his vehicle and proceed on foot. He is asked to walk to school. Ji also stops him and makes fun of him. But then, sometime later, another battle is instigated at Hanpura school, and all the students start fighting each other. After this, we are shown a scene from a year ago when the same teacher, Miss Jung-hwa, had scheduled a date for a disciplinary committee meeting regarding Han. Furthermore, Han's father discovered this information as well. Han reassured him not to be concerned, assuring him that he would manage the situation. Subsequently, merely a day prior to the subsequent meeting, Miss Jung-hwa was tragically murdered. Following this event, Han introduced his combat application within the school, allowing the individual with the top rank to become a member of the YB gang. Consequently, all the students at the school became intensely fixated on fighting one another. However, at present, Miss Lee has arrived to halt Han, following in Miss Jung-hwa's legacy, and she is now supported by the villagers. In the present time, all these people are talking about how their school is starting to change. The kids are fighting less now, which is good. They also remember that even in their class, the children have started focusing on their studies. That's right. They say that this is all because of the hard work of Miss Lee and the villagers. Meanwhile, Miss Lee is going somewhere when someone approaches her, which frightens her. But it was the same boy Park. He tells Miss Lee not to hold the committee meeting. He says that justice doesn't exist in this world. He tells Miss Lee that they executed the same action, following which they were tragically murdered, and the individual who stabbed them was linked to the YB gang. This clearly indicates that Han did not give the order for their murder. Conversely, the principal approaches Han's father to express his apologies and mentions that the educator has secured the petition with the signature of the head of the education department. Consequently, I am unable to intervene at this point, and this meeting is inevitable. At that moment, Han arrives. He appeared completely untroubled. It seemed as though he had some strategies in mind. The following day, a video of the altercation involving the villagers and his companions at the construction site emerges in the news, and they are depicted as though the villagers and his friends are ruffians. They fought after entering the building. Subsequently, all the journalists and media personnel commence pursuing the study group participants, and the vice principal also discovers a pretext to expel the study group members. He informs Miss Lee that he intends to convene a committee meeting regarding them as well, aiming to have them expelled too, and if she desires to prevent this, she should annul the meeting concerning Han. Now she finds herself in a significant predicament. She informs the villagers and everyone else that the detective had disclosed everything to her, that they went there to rescue their friend Kim-sun, but the news depicts it differently. It is currently under surveillance. Consequently, refrain from engaging in any altercations for a period, and I will manage all other matters. Everyone concurs. As they depart, they notice that Han has instigated a conflict across the entire school. Han was also observing all this on television, and now a boy hurls milk at him because he is justified. He intended to confront them to elevate his status. He emerges feeling disheartened. The villager approaches him. Sahivan was rather disillusioned because he believed everything was progressing smoothly, but now all this transpired, and now, from that point onward, a phone call comes in, and Sehan promptly dashes off to some location. A message also arrives for Ga-min, prompting him to head to the study group's room, where Han and Hwan are seated. Han informs him that regardless of what actions you take, you won't be able to alter the school. Whatever the students here desire, I am capable of providing it to them. Hwan also adds from the village, cancel the meeting, only then will I permit you to study. They both depart, and subsequently, the members of the discipline committee enter and commence dismantling their room, stating that you have been disqualified from a club position for a certain duration. Consequently, you all are not permitted to remain in this room any longer. Following this, all the study group's possessions are destroyed right before their eyes. The villager was unable to even intervene, because he had promised Miss Lee that he would stay away from fights for some time. Meanwhile, he reaches a construction site where his father was arguing with a man because that man called Se-hyun a thug after watching the news. Se-hyun sees his dad fighting for him, and afterward, his dad talks to him and scolds him a lot. But in reality, they were worried about him. Se-hyun tells them, "Alright, I'll quit school today and start working from tomorrow." Saying this, he leaves. The villager sits at a distance listening to this. He was listening there while the girl started speaking ill of Ji-won and Vorn. Then Vaughn yelled and drove them away. But just then, Vaughn's mom and dad arrived and they took him away from there. June attempts to communicate with every member of the study group. Nevertheless, nobody is responding in the chat any longer. Gramini is witnessing all of this, but is unsure of how to handle the situation, and then he notices that Sahyog has departed from the group. In this manner, their study group starts to disintegrate. Gramini begins to reminisce about the wonderful moments shared with everyone. Meanwhile, Miss Lee is examining the documents for the committee meeting regarding Han. They had attempted every possible solution, yet they were unable to eliminate the incorrect allegations against the rural community and everyone else involved. If a committee meeting is convened for the rural, he will likely face expulsion as well. Consequently, she initiates the deletion of the documents related to the meeting about Honey in an effort to protect the rural, but then she pauses. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, the rural individual returns to the study group's room. He remains hopeful and begins to oversee Isro. Miss Levy arrives at that location. She additionally assists the villager. Then, on the following morning, as Sehun is heading to his job at the construction site, the villager accompanies him. Sehun takes on the work in place of his father, and the villager joins him there as well. He begins assisting with the tasks and tells him, "I will study alongside you, and we will attend college together." Witnessing this, Sehun feels extremely happy that the villager genuinely cares about him. He concurs with what Ga-min expresses and proceeds to converse with his father. Sahevan states, "Dad, you have exerted tremendous effort to raise me, and I have come to realize that today I am truly grateful to you, but I wish to pursue my studies wholeheartedly. So please grant me just 3 more years. I assure you, you won't regret this decision." His father also becomes quite emotional and agrees to continue supporting him. Ga-min reassures them, "Uncle, do not worry. One day Sahivan will construct a building just like this one for you." Following this, they both proceed to meet Bon's mother and father. They decline to transfer Van and also inform them about their academic group. The government officials and Sivan collectively persuade Van's parents as well. Subsequently, these 3 individuals proceed to Jevu, who had commenced working in a retail store, and ultimately persuade Jevu to return to school. Then, everyone who had been eagerly waiting for them for such a long time discovers this news. Consequently, the study group assembles once more. Meanwhile, Miss Lee informs the vice principal that she will not cancel the meeting concerning Han, and she firmly insists that she will not permit the study group members to be framed in such a manner. At this juncture, the study group members begin returning to school. Following this, Kim Sun convenes with them and reveals that last year, when Miss Jung Hwa arranged a committee meeting about Han, she was tragically murdered the night preceding the meeting, and everyone secretly understood that this murder was crafted to be believed because, for him, this is not merely a school but rather a kingdom he has meticulously constructed. He reigns over it, and if the meeting were to occur, Han would have faced expulsion from the school. Everyone comprehends that now Miss Lee's life is similarly at risk. Consequently, they resolve to safeguard Miss Lee until the meeting transpires. On the other hand, the detective meets with Miss Lee and advises her to leave the city until the meeting. The detective says, "I will try my best to protect you, but I can't be with you everywhere, and who knows what Hanakuk might do." However, Miss Lee refuses to run away like this and says, "If I run away, it will have a bad impact on the children, and I also need to clear the false accusations of hooliganism against them. That's why I won't go anywhere." Then the night arrives, with the meeting scheduled for the next day. And during the night, the vice principal calls and tells Misri that since the discipline committee meeting is happening tomorrow, he needs to confess something to her and tell her about YB construction. He asks Miss Lee to come to the school. Miss Lee arrives at the school at night, where she had already called the detective. The detective advises her not to go inside at night, but Miss Lee insists that this is their chance. She enters the school and goes to a room where the vice principal was sitting. After that, she records the conversations. The vice principal starts revealing a lot about the dark deeds of the YB gang and Han at the school. But suddenly, the lights in the entire school go out and the vice principal quickly escapes from there. The detective also notices something heavy. At that moment, Ahwan and his accomplices confront Miss Lee. Miss Lee starts recording their conversations as well, and they had come there to kill her. Haban snatches her phone, but their conversations were still being recorded because Miss Lee was wearing a badge given by the detective. There was a recorder in it, and the detective had said that if you don't return in 30 minutes, I will come inside to rescue you. And now the detective starts heading there. But a corrupt officer from the police station knocks the detective unconscious to save Han. Meanwhile, those people were advancing towards Misri, but then, in an announcement, Won says to everyone that now you will all die. After this, the villagers arrived there with their companions, and Kim Sun was also included with them. In fact, they had made a plan that day itself that they would all work together. They will keep an eye on him 24 hours a day. After that, all these people were following Miss Lee everywhere, and that's how they reached the school tonight. The villager now tells Jinsei to take Miss Lee, saying, "I trust you." Saying this, he starts attacking everyone, and Junun and the others start running away with Miss Lee. But except for Han, everyone else starts chasing them. Meanwhile, Ji-won and Kim Sun stop to fight two people on the way. Downstairs, Hwa-noon confronts the three, but Se-han says, "You all proceed, I'll hold him back." Jun proceeds downstairs with Miss Lee, but there he unexpectedly encounters someone familiar. His longtime friend Auntie emerges, who has now become part of the hockey gang. Meanwhile, a fierce fight erupts between Parhan and Gonin. They exchange powerful punches, causing windows to shatter. In this chaos, NDB begins to severely beat Jin, while those two boys are also mercilessly attacking Kimson and Jibu. Meanwhile, Havan also starts shooting at them. Sahyeon crouches down in the library, but Hwan notices him and fires, the bullet slightly grazing his hand. Sahyeon begins to dodge him. Meanwhile, the chubby boy was hurling creatures around, and an intense battle was unfolding between Han and the villager. Han remarks that he hasn't relished a fight this much in quite some time, but Ga-min was extremely furious at that moment. All his friends were being beaten up. The villager fights earnestly, but Han nonchalantly grabs him and tosses him aside. Meanwhile, Miss Lee is unable to escape from the building. Unable to escape, Idarjun reflects on the cherished old times spent with Auntie. However, Auntie had transformed due to Abhan's influence and begins attacking those he once knew. Meanwhile, Kimsun and Jivo are also engaged in combat with them. Jivo delivers a punch to the boy who was assaulting Kimsun, and then Kimsun starts striking the hefty boy. Subsequently, they join forces to fight against them. At the same time, Havan's firearm runs out of ammunition, and Sahin steps forward to confront him. Meanwhile, Miss Lee shatters the glass, and they start running out of the building. Meanwhile, Jun also starts attacking Auntie. He realizes that Auntie is no longer his old friend, and then he beats him badly until he knocks him out. Meanwhile, Kim Sun and Jiwo team up against those two boys, and after a lot of fighting, Kim Sun and Jiwo manage to knock each one of them out. He was already engaged with Havan from this side. After meeting Ga-min's mom, he took taekwondo training from her so that he could help the villagers. And now, thanks to the training given by the villager's mother, Sahan defends himself and starts defeating Havan. In a short time, Sahan ends Havan's game. Meanwhile, a fierce fight was still going on between Hanan and the villager. They break through the wall and enter the classroom. Han says, "I know. You are not utilizing your complete power. If you believe that by engaging in combat with me here, you will merely squander my time and allow Miss Lee to flee, then you are mistaken." Ga-min is astonished to hear this and inquires, "What have you done?" Meanwhile, Miss Lee was attempting to escape, but we had summoned all the reinforcement fighters of the YB gang to this location who were planning to assault Miss Lee. To protect her, Afghami begins intensely attacking Nahan and even employs the special technique, the 0-inch punch, on him. However, indeed, he withstands it and delivers a powerful punch, declaring, "What do you believe? If I depart, will Yusung remain alright? The school will never be the same again. Even if I leave, this school is not going to transform." Upon hearing this, the government becomes extremely furious. He subsequently employs a unique technique to strike Han with the swiftness of the wind and ultimately overcomes Han. He was on the verge of rescuing Miss Lee, but due to exerting his complete strength, he collapses and faints. The boys were advancing towards Miss Lee with the intention to attack her, and for a brief moment, Miss Lee felt as though everything was coming to an end. However, she then arrives at the scene. She had sought assistance to rescue Miss Lee because Miss Lee had previously saved her from being stabbed. Subsequently, all the children, whom the villager had become friends with after their confrontation, also arrive there, and collectively they fight back and rescue Miss Lee. The following morning, there is a disciplinary committee meeting concerning Han, and he is expelled from the school indefinitely. As Han furiously begins to depart, Miss Lee advises him that he should reflect on his actions. Observing Miss Lee speak in this manner reminds Han of Miss Jagawa. She had once counseled Han in a similar way and motivated him to transform himself. Han now comprehends his errors. Subsequently, detectives also arrive to apprehend Han. They possess evidence in the form of there exists a recorded recording, and Farhan is apprehended and escorted away from this place. Park was observing him as he departed. Han pauses and advises Gaman to persist in attempting to transform this school. Han had also come to an internal realization of his own mistakes. At this juncture, the vice principal is likewise dismissed from the school, and the authorities take them away as well. Following this, the study group is re-established, and the news concerning the examination involving those thugs is once again verified as false. The head of YB Construction becomes aware of all these matters, and the members of the disciplinary committee ensure the removal of the fighting application from every child's mobile device. Additionally, Ji-woong's sibling, Skedies, has completed his sentence and is now released. In the meantime, Miss Lee pays a visit to her instructor Miss Jung-hwa's resting place. At this particular juncture, Park is presented with an enticing offer from the YB gang and promptly decides to join their ranks. Simultaneously, the rural study group reverts to its usual state and continues their regular activities. With these developments, the narrative of the inaugural season of the series concludes. In the concluding scene, it is shown that Miss Lee steps down from her position at the school. The reasons behind her decision will only be unveiled when the subsequent season is released. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section about how you enjoyed this video. Kindly give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. We look forward to meeting you again in another thrilling video.